What's up, my fellow wet sock enjoyers? Today we're going to be making fire starter. Specifically, fire starter you can fit in a small container, like an Nesbit stove, for instance. We're going to be using basic materials, pretty easy to put together. Alright, so what we got here is a lot of pitch, sap, and some fat wood. We've got lint, and we've got some paraffin wax. What we're gonna do is we're gonna melt the wax down in this tin and add in that sap and mix in the lint to kind of absorb it and give us a good basis. Yeah, peep the tactical flip-flops. We're using the grill because I don't want to use a propane little stove, and I can't do it inside. First things first, we gotta bust open all these packaging and get all 20 of these candles into the I got 2 packs, so there's 40. I found some random candles in my bedroom, so we're gonna toss these in because I don't use them, and they're scentless, and my wonderful girlfriend got me some nicely scented candles that I use instead. Now that we got all of our candles in here, comes the super fun part of just popping them out of these tin molds. Tin isn't a great fire starter. It's kind of a pain in the ass, so use like a razor blade if you must. Oh, perfect. Oh my god, I look like my father. This isn't glamorous in the slightest. I'm doing a time lapse. Alright, so we got all of the tin off of the candles. Honestly, the easiest way was just using my knife, cutting through the metal and pulling it off. I'm a bit unfamiliar with the possibility of sap lighting on fire as I'm trying to heat it, so I'm a bit wary of this. But I also know that people made tar and pitch out of it for centuries, so I should be okay. That said, I'm unclear if it has a substantially different melting point than paraffin, and if that is the case, I don't really want to light my stuff on fire before I want to light my stuff on fire, if that makes any sense. I don't know what y'all are using when y'all are doing this, but I'm broke, so I have Dollar Tree candles and bits of bark I found in my neighborhood. Look at that. That's some nice sap right there. You can save these other pieces of bark that you're pulling off for later to incorporate into other fire starters, or just by themselves, because fat wood is a phenomenal fire starter all on its own. Complete side note, you should always keep tea lights in your car, because one of these tea lights can produce enough heat inside of a closed vehicle to protect you from hypothermia in the case that you are stranded inside of your vehicle for long periods of time. So I always keep like 4 of them in my truck just in case. I mean, if I'm out and I get stranded and I might die of cold, I'm gonna just let it happen. But if I've got somebody I care about in the car with me, I don't want them dying too. So I have them just in case my loved ones don't join me in a suicide pact unconsensually. I'll show you what it looks like in a second. Don't you worry your sweet little patushki on it. This process is also very boring, so cue the time lapse. grab you real quick. I've got all of the sap scraped off of the wood and put in with the paraffin. I would like to clarify, I did not pull these off of trees. I found them on the ground, or in some cases, I pulled the bark off of some of our firewood for our house. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna fire up this grill, get these melting down, scoop out any irregularities with this handy dandy Dollar Tree spoon, and yeah, see how it goes before mixing in the lint. Alright, so we got our grill started. Now I guess we just wait for it to cook. I don't know why it's popping like that, but it's scaring me. I'm gonna be so honest. I don't know if I'm supposed to close. I'm just gonna. We're gonna count to 3 minutes and then open it again. 2 things I will note that I've been thinking about while mindlessly scooping little circles out of wax. 1, sap is sticky, especially when liquid. I didn't think about this. Number 2, I don't think I fully grasped the concept of fuel. So, while these are fire starters, yes, I'm questioning why this is prototype number 1, and I am thinking heavily to myself about what I could use that would make it last longer. Because I kind of want these to become like little tablets for my S-bit stove, and kind of fuel it so I can cook, warm up some water or warm up some coffee or warm up some soup, whatever, right? Cooking things. I'm using fire starter, like I'm making a textbook fire starter. And I'm actually curious to see about the burn time, like, and the heat, the BTUs of this, I'm very interested. Like, if it can heat things up, how long can it keep them heated? I'm very curious to know. Any excess sap on these pieces of wood will melt off. And they'll also be soaked in wax and sap, so they'll be great on their own. Here's what I'm looking at. These pieces of wood I'm gonna pull later, just so that they're good on their own for their own fire starter. Different project. That's the candle. It's obviously not melted up fully, but everything else is looking pretty good. And here's all of the wick stays or wick stoppers that I pulled earlier. I don't know why I was so worried about it, but really nothing to fear in the form of the sap combusting. Found out the wax has a slightly lower melt point, but it's not that different than the sap. Sap melted pretty soon thereafter. It's basically all melted. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our lint and just tear it into small chunks. We really don't want any fibers to really connect the whole thing because we're going to try and cut it into cubes. So we want it to be as easy to cut through as possible. And we're just going to incorporate all of this into there. Just make sure all of it's pretty saturated. I turned down the heat a bit because I had it on high, but we don't want to burn the lint. Less of a out of the firing pan and into the fire, more like holy shit, my entire grill's on fire moment, including the pan and the spoon. In total, this cost me $5. This is kind of what we're looking at. all of that wax and sap has now, it's been pretty much filled with lint. So we're just gonna cut cubes once it cools down, and then we're gonna test it out. The most enjoyable part of any science experiment. All right, guys. So it's finally cooled. It took so long that now it's no longer raining, and the skies are relatively blue. So, due to this, we can actually test it out and not worry about the rain, killing the vibes. Here's what it's looking like, and as you can see, it is holding its shape and very hard. Since it's retaining shape so well, I know it's only $1.25, but I still want to reuse this, so I want to see if I can break off a bit. There, just like that. There we go. I wanted to incorporate sawdust into this, but I didn't have any on hand, so I'll probably do some wood project or wait until it cools, like dries off here, and grab some off of the workbench, but didn't have any for the time. So I might melt this back down and incorporate sawdust into it. We will see. Here's my little Espit. Here's my little Espit stove. And here's my little fuel fire starter. Thought I would try it the old-fashioned way. See if a match is enough to get it to light. Got my clock on hand, and all right, 4:15. I mean, it worked. It worked. It's definitely not going to be the easiest thing. Like, it's not going to be for survival, it seems, because of the amount of wax content. And wax takes a lot of heat to melt and then turn into a fuel source. If we were wanting something more immediate for survival, we would use something like Vaseline with a lower melting point. Like the Vaseline cotton balls, And then, I mean, I've used Vaseline and lint as an emergency fire starter for ages, but I wanted wax because it's a longer burning material. I wanted it as my fuel. Yeah, it's burning. That is awesome. That's so cool. I'm so stoked. That is a really solid flame too. As it's wax, it is melting through a bit, but it has a good plate in the middle of the Espit stuff, so it's kind of catching and pooling the wax. I have a bit of water in there. It's already been going for 6 minutes. The flame has been going for just about 6 minutes. And that's just, you saw the piece I had in there is a normal fuel size. Depending on the life of this fuel, I might restart with another piece. Just depending on how cold it is out here, where you can see my breath, it might take a bit longer for water to boil. This is so cool. I'm so happy this worked out. I'm sorry. I'm watching the fire in the video and it's just making my day. There is plenty of steam coming off the top, and it's out. It is out at exactly 12 minutes and 15 seconds. There's lots of bubbles in here, but it did not boil. So I'm going to put that over to the side. And yeah, it didn't have a whole lot of waste, to be honest. It burnt down pretty well. What I'm going to do is I'm going to grab another one, cover this because you cover water to boil it, and then we're going to see how that goes. All right, lads. So I was thinking it wouldn't be that difficult to get just a very thin sheet of metal that would fit around the top of this or on the top of my USGI canteen whatever this is called thing, like just cup, if I could just get a piece of metal, very thin sheet, I could slide that into any of my pouches and it would be a incredibly slim profile. And I don't doubt that would um, provide, the cover necessary. In the meantime, I have a candle snuffer. Another difference I'd like to note is that previous bit, I ripped off just like a corner. In this one, here we are. That's about the size I used. This is about the thickness. This is about the average thickness of this sheet, and it's more the average thickness of something I would be using. Um, and that's how the flame is looking comparatively to the other much smaller piece. That is looking good. And we are currently at about 4 minutes, I believe we're at 5 minutes of burn time now. Far more bubbles, as I didn't wait for it to burn halfway through. And we're at a rolling boil at about 9 minutes. So there you have it, boys. It made water boil. The water was covered for about 3 minutes until this started burning, but it made water boil. Current runtime right now that we're looking at is 14 minutes. As it was going, the wax fully melted and kind of covered the base, and all of it kind of engulfed, and that's when the flame was largest and the boiling occurred. The water's no longer boiling, but as you can see, it's not cool either. This is pretty cool. You can also see there's quite a bit of wax on the melted wax on under the stove. So a consideration in the future is just to make sure whatever I'm putting this on when I'm out in the field is prevented from being flammable. Whether that means I pour a little water on the ground or have a bit of, say, mylar or some other material that isn't going to burn as well. Put that there and keep tabs on it. Make sure it's not gonna catch a forest on fire, because that would not be a good idea. There's the video for you. If you followed my steps, you will now have enough fuel for your pocket stove to boil water approximately 63 times. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you guys tried this out too, I hope it worked out, and hope you're satisfied with your results as I am. Until the next one, love God, get outside, love your family, and yeah, have a great day.